we must bring the one and only Evan of 829 Studios inside of this show. Sometimes people have a few things to say about partnerships. What kind of value am I getting out of this thing? I have heard that Evan runs a negative CAC partnership program, is what I have heard. I have heard that.
I love negative CAC.
I don't know if it's true. I don't know if he can tell me where the best clam chowder is to have in the Boston, Mass area, but we must find out and bring the man himself inside of the show. Everybody, welcome in here, Evan of 829. Get in here, Evan. Get in here.
Oh. You guys watching the World Cup? Everybody rooting for Team USA? Listen, I just got some good news. You want to hear negative CAC? When your partners buy you World Cup tickets for quarterfinals game. Is how you know you are operating on a negative CAC, I would argue. Baby.
What a drop. Wait, how did this happen? You got to dive into this.
I'm just going to say, look, there are a number of strings and there was much pulling. And ultimately, when you shake enough bushes, then you crack a few omelets at the end of it all. I think that it pays to have a big network and a wide net. But I will not name names, but to those of you watching who may be involved in this blatant form of bribery and transactive double dealing, that is how it's important to operate in the partnership ecosystem. Now, in all seriousness, it is so great to be here, guys. I am so excited to share some thoughts with y'all today. And oh my God, the energy level, the energy of this show is through the roof, bro. Holy crap.
We must. We try to do it for people like you.
I wish I had. Look, I got this dorky, you guys had this whole Rhett and Link over here. Holy crap, dude. This is out of control.
We're wild. We're pretty cool guys.
You're too wild and crazy guys. What can I illuminate for you guys today? Because I do have thoughts on all of this. I want to make sure that it is cleaving to our e-com specific scope. And I have been doing a lot of theory crafting about how to apply some of this, this philosophy that we've been developing at 829 for the last couple years or so to the e-com realm.
Yeah, we need
I'm gonna start ranting. I'm gonna start ranting because it's 2 p.m. Diet Coke. This is what you signed up for. There's two concepts that I want to share with you guys today. One is revenue operations, and what does that mean? How is it relevant to what we're talking about today? And why do most people say that term without really generating any revenue from it?
That's a problem.
I'm going to make an argument to you guys that my background, which is rev ops management, consulting, and revenue management, is how we arrived at partnerships. Actually, that this is not a sort of an afterthought. It is not a third channel. It's not something to compare with inbound and outbound, and even throwing the kind of the terminology that I think some folks have around partnerships has obfuscated to some extent the value of some of the relationships that we've been able to kick off. And I'm going to end with an argument about how it actually is pretty achievable to reach a negative customer acquisition cost, especially as it relates to e-commerce.
Whoa! That's a tall order. That's a tall order, Evan.
I'm going to say that as a representative of an advertising agency that does run acquisition campaigns, that we spend astronomical paid media budgets for our clients. We run SEO, we do public relations, media strategy, we do everything in between all of these channels, CRO, web dev, you name it. But there is a third leg of the stool that a lot of brands are sleeping on, which is a little closer to my philosophy of doing business, which is even relevant to Boston, because I don't know when this happened. I'll just get right into it. But maybe a couple decades ago, I can't even remember. I probably should have prepped this. There's a book called Winning on Purpose that came out about Bain Capital's development of the net promoter score.
Yes.
What is this metric? Why does this matter so much? And how come nobody even gives a shit about it? There's a very clear reason for it. It's that it is slept on as a top funnel, kind of a sentiment analysis to do brand surveys and kind of throw it back to the marketing team and kind of treat that as a general barometer of how well our company's doing. If you ever get an email that says, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend Evan to a friend or a colleague? By and large, you're not going to
highly recommend.
You're mostly not going to answer it. Go straight to spam or whatever. But that framework was developed by management consultants in Boston for a very clear reason, which is that they couldn't quite figure out why referrals were happening for some folks and why it wasn't happening for other folks. Um, I would argue that driving performance for our clients or driving really good results on e-com channels that we're running, even if we're brand side marketers or performance folks in house or consumers, even you might argue,
Yeah.
are all privy to a metric that we never directly measure for ourselves, which is how much we are delighting our customers. There is no Google Ads section on customer delight. There is
No,
no
there's
there
not.
is no Google, there's no Google Analytics about how much somebody loved your homepage. There are barometers of it. There are metrics of it. We can measure bounce rate. We can measure the time spent on pages. You heat map it and everything. But ultimately, a lot of this kind of Zuckerbergian measurement tactics fail to see the forest for the trees, which is really just how much do people enjoy our brand? What is it? It's not what you do; it's how you make people feel. How do people talk about us when we are not in the room, as Jeff Bezos, I think, said at one point.
Yeah.
I think my thesis for the last couple years has been that this is not an afterthought, and that if you actually optimize for Net Promoter Score, which in the kind of the context of revenue operations is the last life cycle of a customer. You acquire them, they become aware of your brand, you kind of move them through this process of retargeting and awareness. They hit the landing page, enter the email address, whatever. They get 15 emails from you guys over the next couple of years or so. They finally buy a product. And that's where most of our marketing funnels end. We bought a customer, whatever, like they're in the database, we retarget them, nurture them, or whatever. RevOps as a discipline has been pretty clear over the years about adding a second funnel to the life cycle of a customer. They call it a bow tie, if you want to envision that, instead of a kind of dropping through a funnel.
Oh.
What really ends up happening is that, I make a purchase of your product, and then there are additional phases after that. We want to expand our relationship with our customers. We want them to come back, buy more products. We want them to feel so good about it that they essentially never churn, and that the LTV of a customer obviously far exceeds the acquisition cost of the marketing spent to retarget them and do billboards or whatever. We have a
Oh, I
trillion
like
softwares.
this.
We have a trillion softwares that we use to measure all of these metrics, all the way through the end of this customer journey or life cycle stage. Everybody stops a little bit too early, though, is the argument right now. And if you look at any of the kind of the core document, you can Google it, like what's the life cycle? The last stage of everybody's MBA analysis, what you learn in marketing school, and what you kind of intuitively understand your own buying process to be, is evangelism. It is becoming an ambassador for the
Yeah.
brand that you are buying from. And I am going to provide a thesis to you that if you have
Please.
such a good product, and you are deliberately optimizing for a high Net Promoter Score, such that the virality, the K factor, as it were, the viral spread of the disease of interest and enthusiasm in your product is so powerful that your customers refer more customers to you.
Yeah.
You do not have to spend on marketing. You
No,
do
that's
not
fair.
have to have any sort
That's
of
fair. That's
concrete
fair, Evan.
acquisition pipeline, except to delight your customers so much that when they get that email and they have to pick a number between 0 and 10, they better pick a 10. And if you know that your customers are delighted enough to become your business development team, to become the boots on the ground sales folks knocking on doors, and create a situation where if I go, hey, I need a new Apple Watch band or the case for my phone or whatever. What is that? What you got, bro? Like, what do you got for me? 80% of consumers, there's a classic system. We all ask each other what we should get before we start Googling it, anything. This is where this KPI becomes so important. And it's where most of us are failing to see the forest for the trees in e-commerce, which is we are obsessed with metrics. We are all performance marketers at the end of the day. We want to drive revenue and we want to drive it efficiently for our companies. I'm arguing at this point that applying the ethics of a SaaS, partnership play, which is essentially what I would amount to as ecosystem-led growth, near-bound, word of mouth, whatever you want to call it, is far and away the most efficient form of marketing that there is still to this day. That essentially reframing partnerships as really more as referrals and optimizing for customer referral relationships through a million different loyalty software, CRO on the website, email nurture campaigns, affiliate codes, discounts, whatever. There are a trillion ways to do this. That these extreme bottom funnel strategies are how you grow a business at a negative customer acquisition cost. I'm not saying there's no point in digital marketing. I am saying that once folks get into your funnel, you should be able to radically expand the lifetime value of the relationships that you have now.
I totally agree. So what you just gave us, Evan, I love this thought. I love this thought of the net promoter score and optimizing for that in one's funnel such that they become true
Imagine not doing that. Imagine not doing that. Oh my God. We don't care about delighting our customers. All we want to do is convert as many of them as possible. No. You are missing the forest for the trees. Our job is to create delightful products that you're so enthusiastic about that you whip it out on the show. Start showing people.
So two examples of what you are describing. And I love this thought too of the bow tie. And thinking about the bow tie. Okay, but two examples. We had this founder on from Humankind Candles. Okay.
Yeah.
She literally has never lost a subscriber to her candle business. Ever. Zero. She has zero churn. It is zero. And to double click on this, what is she doing to keep people around? She has a giant group chat where she is inside of it, talking with them every day, is so like ingrained with the customers that she hand poured. It's, it's a great product. She comes from tech sales. Here's where she comes from. That's the world she comes from.
Baby. That's right.
She to the extent with her like special Sam's list, type thing that she has has even kept subscribers in her own apartment when they come to visit Toronto. She has even like, you come and stay with me. I've never met you. We've been talking on the chat. Like, you come and sleep inside of my house. Like that's the extent that she is going to delight her customers.
Here's what I'd say to that. That is the phase that immediately precedes referral. But retention is a different metric, I would argue. I think retaining customers is fantastic. You have to activate them as your sales team. You have to activate them as your marketing team.
So you're drawing the distinction here.
So I would never knock a founder for having their customers at their house. Your customers write the best copy. Everybody knows that. Talk to them, invite them in, learn from them, iterate quickly, etc. But there is another pipeline there, a channel of business that I would argue, based on what you're saying, may not even be happening yet, which is, and it very likely is, obviously, just playing devil's advocate, but that you must be deliberate in creating viral customers. They must be super spreaders, or else you will continue to have to pay for acquisition. You will continue to have to replace them. Retention is great. I want to retain all my business. I also want to grow my company, though, at the same time. And I also want to have a situation where if I leave, we're doing such good work that our customers are so happy that if I leave, we can essentially continue to grow on autopilot. And if we are exclusively focused on retention, my argument is that is, generally speaking, one stage earlier in the customer life cycle. That I'm happy sticking with you. But am I pulling in all my family and being like, yo, these candles, bro, like, you have to have this freaking candle. And I would argue that there is likely a situation where, if I put my consulting hat back on for a second, I would frame this up as lost opportunity at the end of the day. That if we're paying for acquiring new customers, if we have any sort of, understanding of the ratio of acquisition cost to lifetime value, that there are optimizations to be made there that are orders of magnitude more efficient than what we're thinking about by going non-digital, in a sense, and by kind of focusing on the emotions of the customer, jobs to be done, traditional kind of brand awareness, positioning, value propositions, the persona that we're speaking to. And I think what I would want to see is coming out of all of that is that all of those people should themselves be creating more candle consumers out of that. And that's how I would measure this initiative like that.
Okay, so let me describe to you where I have seen what you're describing happen. What I want to ask you on the backside of this is, put your consultant hat on. How would you cultivate this even more? But where I have seen what you're describing happen was with a company that I was with called Bruce Bolt, a little baseball company.
Yep.
make batting gloves. The New York Mets wear them. Everybody wears them. At the time, I think the company was, gosh, spending very little money on
Yep.
advertising, especially for the like ratio of revenue growth. And it's kind of like,
That's
what is
right.
going on here?
How do they do it?
Well,
How
uh,
do they do it?
under
Interesting.
the hood, it's this great product, incredible product, truly innovative product. The founders were intently involved with the customer service program, even like to my own headaches. Still taking calls while we're trying to have meetings. Actually, producer Jack was on this team. Producer Jack, who is running this live stream right now, she was on this customer service team. And on the back side of this, though, because the intent IRL-ness of baseball is such, little Johnny gets the gloves. Bobby sees little Johnny with the gloves. He talks to mom.
Those are cool gloves.
Mom talks to Aunt Susie. And there was like kind of a built-in virality, word of mouthness opportunity inside of that ecosystem.
The iPhone.
Yeah. And we continued to scale and use paid advertising. It was ludicrous, the numbers that we got, but they were ludicrous because of this like inborn word of mouthness, viral marketing that was happening underneath. Now, my question to you would be, how does one cultivate that? At the time, my thinking, Evan, was like, this is like a perfect storm. Like we've got a great product, very involved founders who know the niche. And then we've got this like inborn word of mouthness happening. I don't know how to recreate that. To me, it was just like the perfect storm.
Yeah. There's obviously a product development component of this. There's no question about it. But we're marketers. And ultimately, there's a degree to which it's out of our control whether or not somebody is a net promoter of my brand versus whether they're not. I think it's totally unfair to suggest that you simply need to make great coffee and everyone will just come back to your coffee shop every time. No, you need to make it very easy for people to make referrals. And I think my argument here, and to anyone watching the show, is to consider some sort of audit of your own customer lifecycle that extends beyond even the retention software that you guys are using, or the Klaviyo's of the world and the email list that you're running into it would likely amount to what I would describe as loyalty. And generally speaking, the goal is to start by figuring out how hard it is for your customers to refer to each other. How hard is it? How much friction is there right now? Is there a very clear story that they can tell each other? Is there, why the candle and not any of the other things in the room right now? This is a very psychological question at the end of the day. And my recommendation is absolutely to talk to your customers. And that's why we send the Net Promoter Score email. It's not to get the number necessarily. It's to get the feedback after they put the number in. Because if I have a bunch of zeros coming in and they're leaving feedback about the product as to why they are not recommending it to other people, that is my product roadmap. That is also how we think about repositioning and marketing, value props. That's how you write the best copy on earth, is by listening to your customers. And ultimately, you need to just tell the better together story. And my argument here is that this is not a particularly tactical workflow. There is no amount of perfect pixels and retargeting and web IP de-anonymization. All of those tools are arrows in the quiver for the full funnel of digital marketing. I think my argument is that the necessity here is to ensure that we do not lose touch of whether or not we're delighting our customers with these products. And oftentimes when you kind of put your hat back on and think about, where are our loyalty metrics? How much referral are we getting right now? To what extent is like direct traffic converting as like this kind of a upper funnel barometer of like essentially word of mouth, attribution, everything. Outside of the traditional e-com funnel that we are all likely owning and operating all the time. I think my argument is that there is a lot of low-hanging fruit as it relates to this stuff. There are softwares that we recommend. I'm not going to mention anyone by name necessarily, but it is a Google search away to kind of figure out how to activate customer referrals as a channel. And what I have seen, especially in e-commerce, and these are sometimes a little more of the enterprise side of things as well, but I think there's no reason why this would not work even better for a brand on a limited marketing budget looking to reverse the 40% increase in customer acquisition costs over the last couple of years on socials, to think about the very, very bottom of your funnel, essentially, which is your top segment of repeat customers as subscribers. they should be increasing themselves over time. They should be multiplying themselves. And if they are not doing that, then either you have an issue where your product is not leading to the right outcomes or the job to be done for those folks, or you have not created a pathway for them to make referrals. And that could be as simple as a referral code. I'm not joking. That stuff actually slaps. In the bottom of the funnel, if you make it as easy as possible for folks to increase their K factor, how many additional customers do I create for every time I make a purchase? How many? What is the kind of multiplicative growth of the customer base passively? My argument is it should be above one, and it should definitely be a situation where even if I were to turn off all my marketing, the way that Apple did for a while with the iPhone, and have a great product, Tesla, say we will about this company, they do not advertise, and but people buy their cars because they make pretty good cars, and they are clearly solving problems for customers in the right way. That has made it incredibly easy for this product to spread virally through word of mouth. Be quirky, be weird, bring your full self to work, post on social, humanize your brand, destroy your brand if you need to, and have fun with it. And I guarantee you that the sentiment surrounding the products that you're building is going to go up. The opposite of this is solutions in search of problems. And we all know what happens if we try to force a product into a market without product market fit. This is some sort of massive extension of that concept all the way down through the life cycle of the customer into, if I love it so much, I should be selling candles door to door at this point.
Wow.
Evan,
I love that. Evan dropping
wow.
bars. Evan dropping bars
man.
on the show. Bars on the show.
Oh.
Evan, talk to us a little bit. I mean, you mentioned two behemoths. You mentioned Apple. You mentioned Tesla, who are really good at this. Can you mention maybe 2 to 3 that are a little bit smaller, some brands that you might have seen personally or that you like that are doing this exceptionally well? Because, I'm thinking, I'm watching this show. I'm the brand founder. I'm the CMO. I'm looking for inspiration to pull from. I'm looking for brands to pull from. Who am I going to?
That's a great question. You'd be surprised, but a lot of fashion brands are operating on affiliate networks very effectively. And you do not need a huge budget to run affiliate programs, which is a dotted line to this sort of word of mouth. If you truly are a performance marketer at heart and absolutely need to spend some budget to acquire customers, the closest analog to this type of marriage between the growth marketers, the growth hackers, and the word of mouth people would be affiliate marketing, which is essentially, for those of you maybe who there's a kind of a adjacency to a lot of the work that maybe we do on Meta and influencer and everything. It's really just a version of influencer that is commission based, and ultimately, I think there's an argument here that really effective influencers, really effective affiliates are effective because they actually love your products. And there is a very clear pathway here for those of you maybe operating on a shoestring budget, bootstrapping or whatever in the CPG space, networking around and kind of trying to figure out which spaghetti to throw at which walls. I think that ultimately micro influencers with very limited niche audiences that you can basically turn into affiliates, whether they're paid on commission, you send them product samples, everything. Or just having an influencer spend to hire basically, what amounts to actors, essentially, I would argue, small scale actors on in lieu of ads, essentially, is far more efficient than putting $50,000 a month into TikTok and watching your CPMs go up over time. You absolutely need to have a floor for what paid media represents to your brand, because you have to have a testing budget. You need to create creative. You need to actively manage all these campaigns and everything. If instead the goal is to apply this sort of like exponential negative CAC theology, as it were, to the smaller brands, the efficiency that you can drive is by continuing to recruit affiliates over and over and over again. And as long as you genuinely have a great product and that you're delighting the right people with the right stuff, picture the graph here. I mean, if every affiliate starts to produce some, tranche of leads over time, and I spend every day adding one new affiliate to my ecom portfolio, and those are great relationships, and I have a great product, and we're solving a real problem for folks, and there's a personality to it, and there's a delight that kind of bleeds through in the content that these folks are creating, then you are growing infinitely, actually. And you will watch a graph, again, it's the napkin math of adding a new partner essentially to your ecosystem every day is nonlinear. if I add one partner a day and each of them brings me, 1,000 customers a year or something, the growth curve is parabolic actually at a
Oh
very
yeah.
low cost. And all I need to do is make sure that I nail that talk track, nail that pitch to the affiliates, make sure that they understand I'm a passionate founder. I know what I'm doing. This is a really cool brand. There's a lot to be excited about, and it's a perfect fit for your audience. And frankly, that every time we make a sale, you guys are going to get 10 to 15% of the margin on that.
Yeah.
Is a very effective talk track, actually. And instead, we are throwing astronomical budgets into paid media campaigns that we have not even validated the success of until we waste enough budget to call it a test instead of a success. My argument here is that if you spend all that time and budget on affiliates and spin up in parallel a customer referral program, you are likely looking at some analogous level of performance without anywhere near the amount of investment that it takes. It just takes a little more calories, I think. And we like shortcuts in this industry. But end of the day, the internet is inflating in cost. We all know that. It's getting harder and harder to advertise. What is needed are great products with really enthusiastic ambassadors at the end of the day, no matter how you go about doing that, whether they're your customers, whether it's your friends and family posting, whether you are, the heartfelt, my dog, whatever today, here's what it taught me about sales, whatever, post the thing, get out there, do things that don't scale at scale, and figure out how to go infinite through a network of trusted referral nodes, whether they're your customers, your affiliates, or anyone else in your wider ecosystem. That is my thesis. I love digital marketing. It is very effective still. It's a huge part of the equation for every high growth brand. But I do think that people are really sleeping on word of mouth and customer referral as a core driver of growth.
I agree.
Let's go.
I agree. And my argument here, Evan, is where did you come from, man? That's
Boston.
I
don't know. He's in Boston.
Okay, let me just say this.
Nobody's heard of us because we're a word of mouth agency.
Well, that must be. It must be the case, Evan. Like a few things stand out. As you talk. Number one, very clear and articulate. Number two,
thank you.
Making points in interesting ways.
Executives speak in lists. Do you know that?
I've watched YouTubes on it. I have.
What's number three?
And then number three, I'm surprised that I have not come across you thus far in my roamings upon the interwebs inside of our industry. Like, where are you? Like,
I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost.
Yeah. Well, I think there needs to be some place where you yap because you are good at yapping.
I've said this to Evan multiple times.
Colin's been hunting me down for months about this exact problem, this issue.
And he won't do it. I'm like, okay, dude, you need to put your thoughts out there. And he's like, no, okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's because they're not free. I'm just dropping free bombs here, dude. Like,
okay.
If you're good at something, just go into management consulting. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing right
charge
now.
For that one.
Here's what I'm doing right now. Number one, I want you to come back. I want you to come back. I think Evan needs to be part of the Ecom Cowboy universe.
Let's go.
I believe. Is that fair, Colin? You
totally
agree?
Fair.
We're in agreement. Number two, we need to have you back in a way where you can riff and yap more. And I think we will figure that out. And man, I am like very happy about this serendipitous meeting that has
no such thing. There's no such thing
place here. Perhaps sovereign arrangement that has taken place here on the show. I'm very happy about that, and it's having taken place. Tell me this, Evan. Man, tell people more about 829. Like as you leave, and we appreciate you making the time to join us. Tell us more about 829. Man, who should be working with you guys? Who should be like? How should they reach out to you, get a hold of you, get more of your mind share, etc.?
Yeah. Visit my LinkedIn, DM me. I'm open. Call me, text me. It is also very helpful to just visit our website and come in that way. But look, we're a Boston-based agency. We're about 300 folks. We merged with a really cool PR firm last year called SBS Comms. They work with a bunch of consumer
I
software
love it, man.
brands. They, I think that ultimately the marriage I would describe there is venture capital getting married to private equity, and we do a lot of work in the investor community for high growth brands. We're involved in a
Yeah,
lot of
you do.
M&A
Yeah, you
conversations
do, boy.
for due diligence.
When you talk, Evan, when you talk, I know the kind of people that you work with. Yeah, you do. Keep going. Keep going.
But big but, huge but here. Um, we grew up working with tiny businesses, and the long tail of our portfolio are very small, brick and mortar mom and pop shops
Wow.
in Boston, summer camps, of which we have some 50 or 60 active summer camps all over the East Coast now.
Seriously.
Tons of YMCAs, JCCs, community centers, religious organizations that frankly are operating on shoestring budgets
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're not really looking to scale and exit as many of us have become pilled to think in terms of instead what they need is incremental growth. They need SEO. They need their Google business profiles to be up to snuff. They need to make sure that their competitors are not buying their keywords, and we're able to do a lot of that very economically and very agilely. I think what happens when you hire a bunch of dorky Bostonian college grads and turn it into an agency is that you create an organization that solves a lot of problems for a lot of different people. And I think that the first principles thing really applies here, which is when you hire good folks and put them in a room together, there aren't really many business problems that we're not able to solve at this point. And I think as we grow into the mid-market and enterprise tranche of the universe, it's becoming clear that we're operating a little more as a management consulting firm that happens to focus on marketing. And I think that perspective is incredibly valuable to the folks likely listening to this show who have an exit strategy, who have a pathway here to become, to be acquired or to become a platform brand themselves. And ultimately, marketing is a huge part of that equation. It's a part of the earmarked capital that's allocated to a lot of these brands. It is part of the goals that are like incumbent on a successful exit. It is part of the the risk that you incur when you merge and when you combine logos and all that nonsense. And of course, at any step of the way, the site can break. Everything
Yeah.
can go to hell. And so I think ultimately my I grew up in startup world and in consulting world. To me, agencies are like the apex of that type of work stream, which is that it's almost as like hiring a consulting firm, to your earlier joke, that actually has to produce value for people instead
Yeah.
of a bunch of PowerPoints and recommendations that were just repackaged clawed
Well,
slop, as I might
well,
frame that.
you have brought value to this show. Has
Let's
he
go.
not, Colin Doherty?
Let's
This
go.
is a
Dropping bars.
Gold.
goaded
So
find.
net promoter score, dude. Net promoter score. That's what
Net
it's all
promoter
about.
score. I'm ingesting this. I have my own framework.
Ingest me.
I have my own framework, Evan, that I have been like kicking around for probably 2 years now, and I'm just too ADHD to like formalize it. But this net promoter score is like the capstone to what I was trying to describe, and I
Read the book.
love this. And I think
Yeah.
there is a D2C-ifying of this concept that everybody
Oh yeah.
needs
People.
inside of their business.
Here's my parting thought. People are starting to catch on to ecosystem growth as it relates to professional services. I say that inside the agency ecosystem, where the dirty little secret is it's very, very hard to acquire customers for your law firm or your accounting firm
Yeah,
or your marketing firm by
definitely.
running ads and cold calling and knocking on doors and everything. For the most
Hard.
part, this is still a very founder-led, executive-led, networking, primordial soup, sort of top of funnel type workflow. Um, uh, I think I have managed to cross pollinate the processes from Bob Moore's ecosystem growth book, which is primarily focused on software integrations and partnerships that way, into the professional services space. I am starting to see there be a bit of a trickle further into the D2C world of this
Yeah.
philosophy, which is that perhaps there is a different way. Perhaps growth is not linear, and perhaps there is no predictable revenue stream. There is no such thing
Mm.
as a funnel that is totally under our control and is completely mechanistic.
Yeah.
And if we plug in this ham to that whatever, like there's the wrong software and the conversion that's a pig in the python. I think there's an assumption underlying that better measurement equates to better results that I don't know is actually necessarily supported by companies like Apple, companies like Tesla, even companies like Google. Like Google's been advertising like, but this is a different story. That instead is explainable with much more simple language, which is that they're building products that clearly delight their customers enough to create this sort of sociological momentum that explains a lot of their growth outside of the marketing space. That's what marketing used to be all about. It used to be about understanding the customer and focus grouping and understanding the brand lift of the supermarket. For the ham in a can or whatever people sold in the 60s. We have become very obsessed with metrics on a very small scale now that I have started to worry. And especially, we're an integrated marketing firm, which means a lot of the work we do is in between channels to understand the drop-offs and to understand why, paid search is claiming victory and SEO is claiming victory, but there is simply no revenue coming out of those initiatives. It usually lies in these kind of abstractions related to strategy, related to budget allocation, and most importantly, related to how well our product is delighting our customers. So I think I can't even remember I probably should have brought the book with me to like hold up or whatever. I didn't write it. It's not even my book or anything. But I do think that if y'all Google Net Promoter Score, you're going to get a bit of the wrong idea about what this actually means. And I think that book, Winning on Purpose is what I've called it, but the one about Bain developing this metric, is an absolutely fascinating read on how to do business totally differently, whether you're in B2B or D2C or SaaS or whatever. At the end of the day, you got to make friends with your customers. Got to make friends with them.
I love this concept of delight. The one and only Evan of 829 Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Evan, we look forward to having you back, brother. Thank you, man. You're amazing.
Talk to you soon.